All right, new metal Monday with Brett, and
Where we at?
we've decided no more bets about the market.
Well, for you, they work out good.
Sometimes I want to lose those bets. I don't
ever want to lose any bets.
I'm a degenerate.
But I have a
degenerate gambler.
But it's not over till the fat lady sings.
No, yeah, that could swing. You can swing 25 cents.
And in today's political climate, like the fat lady guy sings or whatever. I don't know.
So last week on Monday,
yeah,
what were we, like 390? What was it, like 390?
Yeah,
like 390.
392.
392. And
it got crushed.
It was 372 earlier.
It went down to like 360 something at one point, and then at least we got a little bit of a bounce.
We're almost at 370 or 374 right now.
Yeah, so I still think I got a chance. I feel. I mean, as soon as I don't know, maybe they're still squabbling about this goddamn debt ceiling.
Why did it go down so much last week?
Just because China came out and their industrial production numbers, trade numbers weren't nearly what people were hoping or expecting, which I think is kind of says something about the world economy as a whole. ECB came out and raised rates, and I think a couple of these other countries are still trying to fight inflation pretty hard.
Okay.
So they're trying to raise rates, even though the economic climate is still tough.
So it's not just America that's got inflation.
Everybody printed a shitload of money.
Yeah.
Like, what do you expect to happen when you print trillions of dollars? I mean, across the world, not just America, but all these other countries were in the same boat. They were worried about COVID and this and that, and I mean, which is a whole nother. We can go into like a whole other sidebar conversation.
Yeah.
But in general, you printed a bunch of money. You splashed the market. The cost of everything went up, and all of a sudden, you're wondering why you can't slow down inflation. I mean, interest rates or whatever aside, there's just an excess liquidity of money still out there, and they're trying to mop it up.
Yeah.
I put that video, like that TikTok video of like the guy with a little bucket trying to put out like a commercial fire. Like that's what's going on. Like you have this little ass bucket and you're trying to put out a humongous fire, and you're gonna raise some interest rates, slow down the economy, kill the jobs, and then what? Mm-hmm. Now you got a economy that's breaking down, and inflation that's still high. Like it doesn't make sense, but. Shit, what do I know?
Well, so nickel's getting crushed today. Everything just got crushed last week. And, copper, it seemed like the bleeding stop on copper, but rhodium's getting its ass kicked. Nickel.
Rhodium is, I don't know. We'll see how that shakes down. Platinum, palladium are up today.
Yeah.
Rhodium's just so thinly traded that, big one move here or there makes big swings.
Do you think these catalytic converter manufacturers are trying to get away from rhodium a little bit because it got so expensive?
You can try and get away with it, but here's the deal, and I think anybody that's in the converter, industry could tell you, or anybody that understands the science of the CO2 emissions, right? Rhodium is really, really good.
So they need it
at its job,
because
right?
You need
its job. I mean, you need the platinum, you need the palladium. But rhodium is the metal that is the best at
converting it,
taking down the CO2 emissions, right? That's what it's. I mean, that's why it's so prevalent in any car that has that's like a hybrid, right? Because you have all the stops and starts, which is what creates most of your emissions.
Or a truck like mine. My truck, it's got the auto stop.
Yeah, it's the starts and stops. Like that stopping the motor, starting it. That's when you get that burst of O2 emissions, right? Well, that's where rhodium shines. And so, if you have all these heavy emissions coming, and if the big switch to the EV cars doesn't take place, or if it's a slower transition than people think. I think there's still an opportunity, and I'm betting and maybe I shouldn't be making this bet, just like I shouldn't be making the copper bet, but I still think that rhodium of all the three metals has the most opportunity. A, because it got beaten down the hardest, but B, because it's so important to the O2 emissions guidelines that they're trying to push forward. So even if the EV transition doesn't take effect as as fast as people think it's going to, so it takes longer for people to start adopting all this electric vehicle technology, then those platinum, palladium, and rhodium is going to be even more important in the next, say, 5 to 10 years.
And
right?
you never know. They might come out with studies or do more research where a true hybrid makes more sense.
It could be. And we're still in the infancy, right? I mean, you've got these big automotive manufacturers that are losing billions.
Yeah.
Trying to convert these factories, build factories for these electric vehicles. And I think the jury's still out in a big way, like whether that's something that actually gets all the way adopted or whether it's just kind of like a nicety that the upper class, more well off financially people can actually afford to participate in.
Because it's going to be hard. I mean, it's a nice thought that you'll have charging stations all over, but that's a good idea. But can it actually happen in like a maybe low income apartment area, like where people like barely can afford a car, Like, are they going to be able to even charge it?
Even if you can build the vehicle and sell it for, let's say, half the price of a combustion vehicle, where are you going to charge them all?
Exactly.
Where's all the electricity going to come from? Where's all the copper going to come from?
It's going to be hard on the grid,
I guess even if you can find a way to make it magically happen, all of a sudden now you're taking a fuel, like a fossil fuel, oil, that you can drill for right here in the United States and convert it into fuel. And you're basically taking that out of the equation in a big way, and you have to go and create all this electric grid and all this plug-in stations and making every house available to plug their car in at night and whatever else. Like, that's a transition. Think about how long it took to make the transition from horse and buggy to like automotive to a combustion engine, and like how many years and decades that took. You're trying to cram it down the throat in a handful of years. It just doesn't happen overnight. And I think that's where I feel confident, even on the PGMs. If you still you can still meet emissions. You can still reduce emissions by just having a quality converter in your exhaust system.
Amazing technology.
Yeah,
where you can still use gasoline. So.
I've heard it said before, and I strongly believe this, and I believe this, like, converters aside, but technology, people get excited about technology. Think about just a year and a half ago when everybody's talking about this metaverse and how this whole technology is going to change the world, right? Where are we at today? Like a year and a half later, 2 years later, like, is it still going on? Are they still trying to build it and tweak it? Yeah, yes. Right? But how many years have they been talking about it, and how many years are we away from it actually coming to fruition?
Well, they've been talking about like the Apple glasses for so many years, 10 years, and we haven't even seen the Gen 1.
Yeah, And so I think of this EV technology, it's a trade right now. People are trading lithium. That's why the price of lithium's went, where it's at. People are anticipating all this copper being needed to produce all these electric vehicles and the grid and everything else. I mean, that's why you've seen all these bullish articles on copper lately and the mine supply not being there to handle it. Mm-hmm. So you take those combining factors, plus this new emissions law they're trying to cram through, right? And I mean, it sets up bullishly for the PGMs. It sets up bullishly for copper. There's just a lot of aluminum for the lightweighting of the vehicles. Lithium, nickel for the batteries. I mean, like, on the base metal side and the PGM side, it's still bullish for our industry. It's still bullish for commodities that we operate with every day, right?
Well, we'll see what happens. Real quick, shout out to all the moms out there. Mother's Day was yesterday, and we appreciate all you do for us knuckleheads.
Absolutely. Happy late Mother's Day, and I hope everybody got to spend some quality time with their wives, their mothers, their grandmothers, and all the important moms out there.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.
Yep. Take care.